Hi everyone, my name is Keely and I'm the owner and creator here at Soy and Shea, and thank you for joining me for another one of my Patreon design idea soaps. Now every month over on Patreon I ask my members to give me some suggestions for some soaps based on a certain criteria. So sometimes I'll ask for food ingredients, powdered ingredients and things like that. Now for this month's soap I asked for themes and I put everybody's suggestions into a little soapy jug, drew out the one, and the one we got was from Heidi, and it is for a Mystic Moon and Star soap. So that's what we're going to go and make today. Now Heidi doesn't actually have a business of her own yet. She makes solely for herself and for family and friends, but as soon as she does decide to take that sort of next leap, I'll be sure to update the description box down below with her business details so you can go and check her out as well. But for now we're going to go and see how I make the Mystic Moon and Star soap, and I'll explain a little about the dramas that I have been having with my soap making adventures of late. Let's go! Because I want all of my base to be the one colour for this soap, I'm going to add my colours into my oils now just to make sure that they disperse really well. The first one I am adding in is some navy from Magic Mica, and I want this to be a really dark blue soap. So as I said, if you caught the behind the scenes video of me making the moon and the stars for this soap, I wanted this, or the theme behind this soap as suggested, is to do a mystique soap. And to me, Mystic Moon and Stars is all about the gold and the blues rather than the sort of black and the grey and the silvers. So that's why we're going for a dark blue base. I've just added some extravagance gold in there to give it a little bit of shimmer. And I'm also going to add in just a touch of black oxide just to really darken that blue up but not make a black soap. So let's get that colour mixed in and see if I have got the right tone. And then once I'm happy with that, I will add in my lye and we will blend it and then add in our fragrance. And we are using today Magic in the Air, which is what I did use for my embeds as well. So let's get this mixed in. Alright, so I felt that that colour wasn't quite what I was after. You do have to be aware that blue is one of those morphing colours, so it might look a little bit grey to start with, but when it actually changes it should come back to a blue colour. Occasionally they don't though, and they do stay quite grey, so just to err on the side of caution, I added in a little bit more of that Navy Magic, and I also had a little bit of electric blue left over from Heirloom Body Care, so I have added that in as well. I can see the gold flickering through there. One of the things I really like about that extravagance gold is it does make a really pretty coloured soap, but when you combine it with other colours it doesn't necessarily affect that colour, but you do get the shimmer from out of the synthetic side of that mica. So as I said, we're going to be using the Magic in the Air fragrance oil, which I got from off of the fragrance shed. It has got almond flower, white iris, vanilla, persimmon, white lily. There's some pear blossom, sandalwood and musk as well. Now you would think with all of that floral note in there, especially water lily, this would be a rather naughty fragrance, but it's surprisingly quite well behaved. Which, of course, because I want to put a moon embed in my soap and I need this a little bit thicker, it's going to stay nice and thin for me, isn't it? So that is just the way the soaps like to go. So I am going to give this a bit more of a stick blend just to get it a little bit thicker so that our moon and our star doesn't sink too much. So we're only actually just starting to come into that thin sort of trace, which is where you can, when you run your soap along the top, you can start to see the trails of that soap sitting on top of the batter. So this is looking really nice at the moment. It's kind of that tricky thing. I want it to set up in the mold so we can put the embeds in, but I also want it fluid enough that when I pour the rest on top, there's not too much of a distinct difference between the bottom layer and the top layer. That's when I tend to find I do have the most problems with seeing the layers in my soap, is if I've poured them at two very, very different consistencies. So we'll give it a go, see what happens here. Alright, so I've got my loaf mold here. Let's pour in a fair bit of this one. That should do there. I am just going to leave it sit a moment. I'm going to give it just a little bit of a spray with some rubbing alcohol, because that does put a bit of tension on that top layer of soap, which helps it to set up that little bit quicker. Okay, so now that that has been sitting for a moment, I'm going to pop my moon in here, which we have cut down to size. I don't want it to roll over too much. This is the messy bit, so let's push that down like so. Hopefully that's still runny enough. Let's get this poured in. We also want to make sure that this falls into the cavity of that moon so we don't end up with a big hole in this soap. Alright, so I have just given that a really good knock down over there. What I'm going to do is pop in my little star. I'm going to pop that just up on this corner piece here. Get it as straight as I possibly can, like so. We need just that little bit more off this piece. Oops. Sounds like there's something on top of my roof today. Alright, let's get the rest of this soap in here. Right, so the next thing I'm going to do before I add any embeds on here, I'm going to just give the top a bit of a spritz with some gold mica, just to give it a bit of shine. And then I have our little star embeds, whoops, we got one more there, to go on the top of this soap. And I will leave links up in the top corner so you can go and check out the behind the scenes video on how I made all of these embeds. I'm just going to push these stars into the top of the soap here. I have got them so that I have got enough to put at least one whole star onto each of the soaps. So I'm going to make sure I have got that one on each of them and then fill in the gaps with all the others. I'm pretty sure I cut them so I had enough for 2 stars per soap, but I don't want to have them looking perfect, so we're just going to have little bits of the stars but have at least one hole on each, if that makes sense. Well, it'll make sense once you see me cut it. So let's get these in here. I am having an absolute doozy of a time making soaps at the moment. This soap I actually should have made about 2 weeks ago, and I have been attempting to make it, and every time I've attempted it, things have just gone wrong. I've had plenty of other soaps as well. I'm almost at a point of giving up on making Christmas soaps this year, because every time I've tried to make something, it's just gone wrong. And even there's little things that are going wrong making this soap as well. It's just been about a fortnight now, I think it's been. I have done things like, I originally tried to make this soap and forgot to plug off the end of this smaller PVC pipe, so I ended up with my pipes, both the pipes ended up being half filled with soap, so I didn't get my full moon embed. I've done things like I made another soap and it really didn't quite come out the way I wanted it to, but in the end it kind of does, it has a different feel to it now. I have done another soap where I ended up breaking some of my equipment in it. And I actually thought then that soap was going to be a complete and utter write-off, and I thought, well, there's nothing actually wrong with the soap. I know, basically I broke off a piece of plastic and didn't realise the plastic was in the soap until I'd completely filled the mould up. And I thought, oh well, I know it's in there, so me and hubby are just going to have a whole load of this soap to use for the next however many months. But luckily, as I actually went to cut the soap, one of the wires hit that piece of plastic, flipped around it, so when I pulled the soap apart, there was this piece of plastic in there. So those soaps, they're not, I was actually trying to create something using the black soap, scraping it out, and I have ended up with just a whole bar of, a whole loaf of black soap, because I put it all back into the mold. And it smells really good, and I will be attempting to make that soap again once I get the part back so we can have a go. But yeah, luckily hubby and I don't have to use a whole loaf of black soap. That does smell good, but I will actually be popping that one onto the website just as a second, because it is literally just a black soap. It's a little bit smaller than my normal bars because I was doing sculpting and I had about, I know, just over 3/4 of the mold filled when I was doing it. So they're a decent sized bar. There's just nothing pretty about them. So, but they're still soap at the end of the day. But this one, finally, this soap has come together. I have literally been trying to make it for 2 weeks and it's just not worked for me. So I'm really pleased that this has now come together. Hopefully that moon has filled up on the inside so that we don't have any holes. Really loving how the top has come up, and hopefully that blue will go a really nice dark blue color. I'm going to leave it sit here overnight, and then we will be back in just a moment to cut it open and take a look. We are back to cut into our Mystique soap, and I am absolutely loving how shiny that top is. Putting that sort of mica across the top, it really does add a bit more of a shine rather than a glitter effect, but it is absolutely stunning there. I'm going to line this one up on the soap cutter. The blue has gone a little bit more grey than what I was hoping for, and one of the really sort of sad, ironic, I don't know, annoying things is that today I actually received an order, and it was my order from off of Nurture Soap over in the US, and in there I actually had the Klein blue and the dark navy blue mica colorant. So if I just waited a couple more days, I could have used the blue that I wanted, but that is life, and this is what we have got now. So let's take a look and see what we've got. Alright, let's get into this one. This one's got lots of stars on with 3 of them there. And that is the inside. That is absolutely gorgeous. Has come up exactly how I actually intended it to after all the hassles I have had. I'm moving it around because you can actually see that gold that's in the blue just glistening. So it looks like there's lots of tiny little stars in the distance. Love how this little star has come up there. And the crescent moon is just absolutely perfect. There it has got little bits, so you can see in here there's little bits of swirl of that darker gold. The other thing I really love, and hope it does stay while it goes through its cure, you can see this sort of glow sort of line around the outside of the moon there, so I hope that does stay there all through its cure as well, because that just makes it look really good there. So I am really pleased with how this one has come together, and Heidi, I hope you like this one too, and your bar will be on to you very soon. I hope you have enjoyed watching how I made the Mystique soap. If you did, why not give me a thumbs up and any comments down below. And until the next video comes out, I hope you have a good one, and I will see you then. Bye!